Before I start this review, let me ask you this. How much, well, to quote another previous Nebraska coach, did you feel the strain? Honestly, how much pressure did you feel watching this game? And I'm just some crusty old man, watching this game sitting on my couch, and I felt like I was going to stroke out. Because I'm not even on the field. And that's the thing, that's the point I want to make, is I can't imagine how much pressure was on the kids on the field. Not kids, I know they're grown adults. But how much pressure they felt to win this game in Nebraska. Not making an excuse, I'm just making a point. That was an exhausting game, and unfortunately Nebraska loses 13-10, like we've lost so many other games, a one-score game. I thought it was interesting, though, that Nebraska basically tried to use Kirk Ferentz playbook. And what they tried to do in that game is they tried to last as long as they possibly could, forcing Iowa to make a mistake rather than Nebraska making a mistake. And ultimately, Nebraska did make a mistake that cost them the game, the interception in the middle of the field. When that ball was thrown, I thought, oh, that guy's by himself. And then I realized it was their guy. And shit. And if I have one complaint about officiating, it's this. They didn't call anything all day. That's not the complaint. They called holding on an interception return when they basically called almost nothing the entire fucking game. And they chose, I think I bitched about this the week previous, they chose right then to call a holding call. That's amazing to me. Anyway, what else we got in this game? We have an entire offseason to argue about this and pick apart every bit of it. And quite frankly, that's why I'm not in the bathroom, because I'm not doing a negative video in the bathroom. I'm not. This is a hard season and exhausting. And as much as we wanted them to make a bowl game, they're likely not going to. And I just, the whole offseason, we're going to be beating each other up. We have plenty of time to discuss, is this a successful season or not? I would have loved to see more of them. That means we can't cover football. We're pretty much done covering football except for arguing for months, which really, quite frankly, doing this sucks a lot. And I hate to whine about it. But it's really heavy. I'm whining. Load to carry, because you get just so much negativity and so much stuff going on with the constant, oh, this sucks. Matt Rhule's never going to win. The Nebraska corners is going to suck forever. We should have gone back to the Big 12. Oh, I'm not looking forward to that, which is why we might have a good men's basketball season, and I'm going to start focusing on that after tomorrow, when we watch Ohio State, Michigan, and all the zaniness that goes on with that game. I think we're headed in the right direction. I think Matt Rhule's a good coach. I think Marcus Satterfield called a pretty good game today. I don't think we were ever going to beat Iowa rushing the ball. What did we average? We averaged 2.5 yards per rush. And you saw with the big bomb in the first half, when I'm guessing probably 30 to 40% of you stopped watching, maybe. It's not a knock. I was thinking I'd stop watching this if I wasn't covering it. But it's not a knock on people. But that bomb, that's what Scott Docterman and I talked about in the preview. That is one way that Nebraska could have beaten Iowa. I was surprised they didn't go for another one later or any time throughout the game, and I guess I could find fault with that. But Nebraska played, I don't want to say a flawless game, but my God, they played hard. They played pretty horrifying football by both teams on offense. The turnovers, that's what we do. The good news is that there's something called regression to the mean, and we should regress to the middle of the nation, hopefully next year, by only having half as many turnovers, just by sheer statistics. Or maybe we're cursed, I don't know. Nebraska finished with slightly more yardage than Iowa. 75 rushing yardage, 189 yards passing. Chubbay Purdy played an enigmatic game, because I think he finished with a 114 rating, which is, pretty good compared to all the other quarterbacks we had this season. And the interception at the end was unfortunate, and it sucked, and it cost us the game. And that's kind of what we've done to ourselves most of the season when we lost. The whole fumble the ball when you're running and you just flips out of your hands. Good God. And then the pitch thing that they called a fumble, that was a clear fumble. The guy hit it before he pitched the ball forward. An emotional game. And, I love my Huskers, probably too much. I could feel like I've aged 755 years this season because we wanted so much out of this season, even knowing that going into this season, we were probably going to have a first year of Matt Rhule that wasn't going to be that good. It's nice to know. A positive thing is, which still is kind of frustrating, is this probably matches our highest win total in the last 7 years or something, which is an unbelievable stretch for Nebraska football. I think we have a lot of great young players. Ty Robinson is going to return, and that's fantastic. I think between him and Nutmasher, they're going to play themselves into first or second round picks in the NFL if they both return for another season. So that's good news. I know we have a whole bunch of stuff to go into the future about, Nebraska needs to find 2 quarterbacks in the portal that have experience. And when I started and I said, do you feel the strain? That's really the difference between being a senior playing football and being a freshman playing football. You could look at Tristan Alvano and say, if he'd only made that 44-yard field goal. Well, think about that as a senior kicking that ball, and you've been through that situation over and over and over. It's a different situation when you're a true freshman walking on the field. Brian Buschini has come under a lot of fire. I think Brian Buschini played pretty decently given what he was working with. Punted into the wind. Brian Buschini didn't cost us his game, that's for damn sure. He gave us one of the best chances to win it when he punted to the 1. And I was hoping that I would throw the ball in that series and we would get a holding call in the end zone. Well, 2 things about that. Number 1, Kirk Ferentz wasn't going to take that chance because he was waiting for us to make our mistake. And number 2, the refs were never going to call holding in the end zone because they didn't call a goddamn thing all day. So, except for their holding call on the interception return, which would have probably put us in field goal range. Well, close with how much time left that we could have just ran the ball repeatedly. And that's the thing about a game like this. There's just so many small things that go into it. And small, tiny things. Should I say the phrase, we're so close? Or is that really just annoying? It's annoying, isn't it? Yes. Emmett Johnson emerged. Crap ton of injuries emerged. We'll lose Billy Kemp. I think, again, we're going in the right direction. And it's sad to not make a bowl. Maybe they'll extend it to a 5-7 team. And God, if they do, we should accept it because we need the extra practice. And we need to not ever hear from another announcer that Nebraska hasn't been to a bowl since 2016. I know there's plenty of people that will probably be going, they shouldn't take it if they're a losing team. Well, screw you, buddy. There you go. That's my only comment. Just screw you. I'm exhausted. I can't imagine how a lot of you feel watching this. I'm sure you're pissed off and you probably expect me to be in the bathroom again. And I'm just not going to do it this time because I think there's a lot to look forward to. But I'm a survivor. And I'll keep surviving. Go Big Red.